Hello and welcome to Core Values, the very first episode for the 23-24 school year. I'm your host, Greg Spencer, and alongside me, as always, is Superintendent of Schools, Chuck Perry. Chuck, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, thank you.
We have two awesome guests with us here today. We've got Jeff Martin, our Campus Security Director. Jeff, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
And we've got Amanda Snider, Associate Director of Athletics. Good to see you as well.
Great to see you. Thank you.
So, Jeff, before we dive into the important stuff, this isn't on my script, but I wanted to just ask you if you've noticed an increase in your social media followers this year, back to school.
I definitely have. I've gotten a lot of comments from your video.
Well, you did an outstanding job. I like when we decided to cast you. If you guys haven't seen that, I know you guys have, but if you're watching and you haven't seen Jeff as Dwight Schrute in the BAHS or the Broken Arrow version of The Office, you need to find that on YouTube. It's pretty good.
It's awesome.
So good.
So tell us a little bit. We'll start with you, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your current position within the district.
Well, I'm currently the Campus Security Coordinator for Broken Arrow Schools, as you had mentioned. I'm a retired veteran of the Broken Arrow Police Department. I did just short of 36 years with the Broken Arrow Police Department. I retired as a sergeant, and I was a sergeant there for about 31 of those 36 years. Prior to that, I was a military police for 3 years. So my whole background and my entire life basically has been in law enforcement.
Yeah.
During the time that I have been on the police department on the side, as an off-duty officer, I was coordinating security for Broken Arrow School athletic events. Eventually, the school district had decided that they wanted to have security full-time, so I coordinated off-duty police officers to be security officers for Broken Arrow Schools.
And then how did that kind of come into the full-time role?
Well, when I retired from the police department, I was let Mr. Blackburn and know that I was retiring at that time, and he was asking, well, what do we do about security? And I said, well, you can hire me full time. So they took a look at it and said yes, but the thing that we went to is changing the whole concept of security. We had great off-duty Broken Arrow officers that have had lifelong relationships with kids and staff, but we wanted to see what we could do with having somebody there every single day.
Yeah.
The officers were doing this on their off time, so they would give us 1, maybe 2 days out of the week that they would be able to work. That changed to having full-time security officers, and they are there every single day. So they're able to build those relationships a little bit quicker, a little bit longer lasting with some of that, and there's a continuity then of what the staff and the students are seeing with those officers.
And Greg, if I could add in there, Broken Arrow is so blessed to have somebody like Jeff Martin at the helm of our security. I mean, his expertise, his background, it is something that he is thinking of things that as educators we weren't trained in, and he's been very proactive over the years that he's been in this position, and he's always looking out for anything to get better with our safety and security, and leads a great team, and really highlighting what he said. He's here to keep our campuses safe from anybody that would want to do harm to our staff, students. But at the same time, they're doing a great job of building relationships with students, and that has shown through research to be a great tool in preventing things from happening on a campus, that students have a trusted adult that they can go share information with. And I just really appreciate you, Jeff, of all you've done and what you do. It makes me feel better that we have somebody like you at that position.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Amanda, tell us a little bit about, you've been in Broken Arrow for a few years now.
Right.
Talk a little bit about your background, but also kind of talk a little bit about what you do on Friday nights, because you play an absolutely huge integral role on what we do on Friday nights.
Well, prior to coming to BA, this is my 4th year. I was just a head coach. Coaching's my background, my passion. I love kids, love working with families. And so this was such an honor to be able to come here to Broken Arrow and work alongside some of the greatest people I know. Game day, in and of itself is when you come to a Broken Arrow game, I've never experienced anything like it. It's unbelievable. It's fun. There's action. Obviously, our student athletes are performing in band and spirit. We have activations on the field, so there's a lot of numerous components. All of which, in light of recent situations, you go back to your core value and you go back to your legal duties, which is safety. And that is something that we are always considering when we're putting on such an event. But, now more than ever, it's having us look inside even deeper and to go, okay, what can we do to ensure that our families, our community, patrons, people that have long time come to these games, now what are we doing to really make sure that we're taking extra precautions? And we still want it to be fun. We still want our kids to feel safe and that they want to go to the games. So, I think that's our job as directors and principals and police officers. And we just have a duty now to ensure that our kids are safe and that it's fun.
And if you think about it, I really like what you said about the community coming together on a Friday night. Some of the big ball games, I know it's just a high school football game, but we have 10,000 plus people there.
It's the annual largest gathering in the community very often.
No doubt. And to coordinate all of that, I mean, if you want to get worn out, just watch her on a Friday night, all that she's doing, making sure things run smoothly. And there's a lot of work that goes involved. It doesn't just happen by accident.
So, Jeff, you talked a little bit about some of the changes in the past decade, both you being here and just in general, but dive into that a little bit more and then talk to some of us about the challenges that administrators face, not only across the district, but across the nation that maybe they haven't dealt with in the past.
Okay. Yeah, there has been a lot of changes. And again, going from having off-duty officers working security to having full-time security officers. I've got a great team of people working with me. I've got several people that I worked with at the police department that after retirement, they are working as security officers here. I've got a great number of people that have worked in hospital settings and other school settings, college and high school, that are doing the same thing here. And they just bring a passion to it that has been really good. They have bought in 100% on the idea that if you can build relationships with the kids, build relationships with the staff, things will go smoother. You can find out things that you wouldn't have known before.
And that's something that I've noticed when I've been in school. And I know Nathan Pittman. I did his video last year. He was our Beyond and Above winner out at BAFA, a security guard there. And one of the things we talked about in the video was just the relationships he builds with kids. And I see that out of a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's just an important part with it. The school board, Mr. Perry, and the cabinet have been fantastic because we went from originally having 6 security officers, including myself. We've more than doubled in size. That we have the personnel, we have vehicles, we have the equipment to do what we need to do to provide a safe environment for, again, the staff and the students. And again, the context then that we have with the parents when they come in, they get a chance to see how engaging and approachable that the security officers are. That gives a rise to the kids then that they can come up to and speak to the officers. They don't have much of a choice because the officers are always out there joking with them and playing with them and getting them to know that, hey, this is a safe place. You can learn here. And you can engage with people and have relationships.
Can you talk on the more serious side? Obviously, CLEAT certified, all of our officers, but the partnership with our city on the training that you all receive?
It has always been fantastic. From the very beginning, the Broken Arrow Police Department has made available their training center for us to do different activities besides our twice a year qualifications that we do with our firearms, that they also go through active shooter training with us, building search training. They have made themselves available, and it's a works both ways. We provide facilities for them to be able to do some of that training in. So this gives them the ability to be in the real environment that they would be in if they had to respond to a serious incident. So it's been very good in that regards. They've, without hesitation, make themselves available. And the expertise that they have there is beyond compare. It helps having relationships of having been there so long, and the people that I have that have also been there, it helps smooth the way. It gives that ability so that the officers, that when they respond, they know what they're getting with the security officers at Broken Arrow. They know what they're receiving, that they've received some of the same training that those officers have had.
Good.
So there's several big initiatives that we're pushing in terms of safety and security this year. Let's talk a little bit about this. Both of you guys can have some input on this, but you got the investment in the campus security verse. Force student IDs is a big one. Talk a little bit about the use of student IDs, specifically high school BAF. I believe the middle schools are doing this as well. Is that correct?
Just the high school, but it goes for Vanguard options, early college high.
Yeah, the IDs are a real big thing. It's something that's very commonplace that we are working to make sure that our students are career and college and life ready, and just a matter of life experience out there. A lot of places that you work require you to have an ID badge. Right. They need to be able to know who you are in a short amount of time. Yeah. When you take a look at the size of the school district that we have, it's easier for us to readily identify somebody as being supposed to be on campus or supposed to be in the area that they're at, for us to be able to identify them. So those IDs are great in that regard. But we also recognize the fact that we need to make them used for more than just one purpose other than just identification. Yeah. And that's exactly what we've done. We've made them where they need them for getting their meals, checking books out of the library, getting into extracurricular events, those type of things, making that available. And it just gives a certain amount of accountability. And we're teaching them that they're accountable. Here's something that you need to have with you every single day when you go to school, because when you go beyond school, you're going to need that in the workforce. You're going to need that at the college level. If you go to tech right now, you have to have it over at tech. It's just a common thing for them to realize this is a necessary item. And to be honest with you, I am out there. I am seeing the kids wearing them. There has not been the pushback that you would expect. We have included student leadership within the process of rolling this out, and they wanted to see IDs. They wanted to ensure that a person can be seen, that they need to be on this campus or allowed to be on this campus, and you don't have that, with that quick identification. So they saw the need, and they embraced that themselves.
Something you said earlier when you and I were just chatting on the side was about eye contact. And I loved at our first home game last week that, there were a couple principals right at the entrance of our jungle student section. And I noticed they were making eye contact with every kid entering or exiting the student section. And I think that also just displays that, number one, we're there if something happens and you need to find an adult. Or number two, that we see you, like you said, you're identifying those kids that maybe need a little extra attention. But I loved that they were there the entire game, and we still, kids are still going to walk around and go get concessions, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
But again, it's a layer of safety.
Amanda, why don't you kind of use this opportunity to touch on some of the policies we have at athletic events right now?
So one initiative that we're looking at for the next game, and actually just for future games in general, is a clear bag policy. We feel that will just be an extra layer that we can initiate. For fans, it'll be easy, I hope, giving them time to prepare for that. So we will put out more information about size and what's allowed, what's permitted. Obviously, if, a parent comes with a child, you may have a diaper bag, or if you have medical needs, we will consider those. But the clear bag policy will be implemented. Something else we're going to do is we're going to shut down our gates at the end of halftime. So there will be no entry after halftime.
Will that be at all athletic events, or are we specifically talking about football?
Specifically football. We are still kind of having some conversations about some other opportunities that we want to look into for games, but those are two of the biggest ones that we're going to be implementing. And students who leave the game may not be allowed back in. Adults, if they leave the game, same rules apply. You have to have your ticket to re-enter. So again, we're still having some ongoing conversations, and I know there'll be some more initiatives coming up that we'll announce.
And I think that's the balancing act that you mentioned earlier about, you want it to be a positive, fun
Yes.
Friday night. You want to feel that high school
Pride.
yes, in spirit, but at the same time, the reality of what we're living in today, we've got to take the precautions and make it safe. So it's that balance that we don't want to go overboard,
Right.
but just all these decisions that are being made are, I mean, just truly, purely out of safety and to keep
Absolutely.
our staff and patrons and students safe.
Well, and people should be pretty used to a clear
Right,
bag
I was
policy.
gonna say.
I mean, there's very few events, major college athletics, pro events, concerts that don't have that this day and age.
A lot of high schools already have it in
Yeah,
place.
I've noticed that recently as well. Jeff, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the perimeter fence proposal at Broken Arrow High School that's part of the upcoming bond issue?
Sure thing. The perimeter fence that we're looking at putting up will mirror what we will be putting up around the Memorial Stadium, and it'll look the same. So aesthetically, it will look nice along with that, but it gives us an opportunity to do the same thing around the buildings at the high school campus itself. It'll connect those up as opposed to building a structure in between those open spaces that we have. We'll have a very nice looking fence that goes in between. That will give a barrier, a defined area, so people know the inside from the outside. And those on the outside won't be able to just come in. They'll need to check in at locations that will be built along with that, and make sure that we have the people that belong on campus are supposed to be on campus. And that will make things nice. It also keeps those that are on campus, when they leave, they've got specific routes that they have to leave through to actually exit the campus. But these are no climb fences. They're utilized all over the place, and they do have a good look to them. We have experienced in the past and just recently when at the Memorial Stadium, where we have had patrons wanting to regain entry and actually climbed over the chain link fence. And they're climbing a 8-foot chain link fence to get over.
So fairly dangerous.
Yes. So this will provide an opportunity that they'll see that they can't make that over. And it also creates that barrier that we try to have, another layer within a security. It's not just one thing that's done, it's multiple things that are done to provide that safe event.
We've been very fortunate, that is a safe and secure district. We have, every school district of this size, there's going to be some incidents, and we've been, I've witnessed firsthand that when there has been some scares that maybe you've seen in the news, that you guys have handled them tremendously well, and then that gets covered as well. But obviously, the people watch the news, they see some of the things that have been going on across, not only the nation but the state. Let's talk a little bit about if students or staff members feel unsafe, what should they do?
Find that trusted adult. Find that person that they have that relationship, that they can report something. It's extremely important for us that if they see or hear something, that they say something. That can help a long ways in stopping any bad things from happening. And they don't have to be afraid that, what they heard or what they saw wasn't exactly what they perceived it to be. We would rather investigate and find out what is there. That's what we're there for. Allow us to go through that process. But if we don't know about it, then things can happen, and it's just not a good situation. If they can just see something, say something about it. If you hear something, say something about it. It's just an environment that we're in now that everybody is talking the same thing. And that goes in all of life. That if there's something there, if you're going out shopping or if you're going any other place and you see something, report that to somebody, because you may be saving somebody's life. You may be assisting somebody that's having a medical episode of some sort. It's important that you, as a citizen of that community, take an active role, because it takes the entire community. It cannot be done by just one person, one team of people. It has to be the community as a whole, actively being involved. That's what keeps everybody safe.
Well, and along those lines, how can parents be a part of a solution? Amanda and myself, we both have young ones in the district, and you guys have had kids come through the district as well. But talk a little bit about how parents can be a part of the solution.
Have conversations with your students, with your kids and that, about what they should do. when they have something like this. Let them know that it's okay to speak to somebody. They can talk to the parent, or they can contact a teacher, a staff member, somebody that they trust, whoever that may be, and be able to let them know what they've seen or what's going on. We do have a very active community, and they regularly contact the district, whether it be the school site itself, whether it be the Education Service Center. They contact different members from those particular entities, and they let them know if they like something, they don't like something. I recently have seen an email that came out that pointed out some things that are actually in the bond issue that we have, and that would improve safety and security. So people are willing to give that information. All I ask is that they do it in a constructive manner.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to point fingers on anything. It's all of us trying to be together as a community to keep our kids and staff safe.
And if you're, as a parent, if you're wondering about something about any of our policies, safety and security, please call your site principal and ask them. Putting it out on social media really doesn't do any good. There's no really benefit to that at all. Mm-hmm. I would rather it get to a person that can actually address it, investigate, and correct some things. And we're always in a mode of trying to get better, and you may see something we can improve on. But please contact your principal. If you're not satisfied with something, we have steps that you can go higher with, to who they report to at the service center. So it's just, I love what you're saying of reach out and touch base and,
yes.
and mention it. Even if you're just thinking about it, mention it to us.
Absolutely.
Well, we talk a lot about the positives, in the district, in the community on this podcast every episode. And I think, this has been a kind of a different focus because of the topic and the nature of the topic. But I think it's important to kind of close things out and get some final thoughts from you guys that, people come to Broken Arrow as a community and a district because it is a safe place. And we've got people like Jeff here that have helped the school district in that manner. And it's just a great town to live in. Kind of give some final thoughts about, what keeps Broken Arrow Public Schools and the community such a great place.
Well, first and foremost, we're a growing district and a growing community, and that's a positive thing. We love it. That allows us to have vision and plan for the future, to continue to be innovative. But at the same time, as we grow, I don't want to lose that community family feeling we have in BA that's so unique, that draws so many people here, that keeps graduates coming back. And we have so many graduates from BA teaching here in the district now. And I think with that, it's going to have to be communication and talking with one another. And again, I don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. But if we come together and share those things and not get too bureaucratic or too big a feeling, that we stay close, I think that's going to be key as we move into the future.
I think also, keeping these events in perspective, and, it is difficult conversations that we have to have with our children as parents or as educators. And so I think keeping those lines of communication open, speak positively about your school district, and like Mr. Perry said, communicate with us if there's something, in athletics that we can do better for events. Let us know, because sometimes we don't see things because we're not sitting in the stands, or, we're not part of the general crowd. But I think just having open communication is critical. And then also just finding ways to work together.
And something I know that you thought about touching on was parents just dropping their students off at games is not the best situation either. Can you talk about that,
Sure.
what we want from there?
And I know probably you have some thoughts on that too, Officer Martin.
Absolutely.
But definitely that is one way parents can encourage safety, is by attending the games with their children, with their kids, being there, being present, knowing that you guys have a meeting point after the game. Let them know where you're at. I think it's another layer of safety that we we may be looking into.
With 10,000 people there, even a middle school student, it's just not a good idea.
Chaotic it can be chaotic up there.
And we can't watch when, a student leaves.
Right.
If they couldn't get back in, then where do they go? And it's just better if you are there at games with your kids.
And we would definitely encourage that. That is some of what we're looking at along with this of ensuring that we do have a parent or a guardian at a location, because we need to be able to get in contact with them. Recently, with the massive heat that we've had a lot of heat-related type activity, and the ambulances involved and that type of thing. So the ability to contact a parent if they're on site makes things a whole lot easier, because they have to give permission for treatment for their child and that type of thing. The emergency stuff is taken care of. The medical personnel, they'll take care of things from there. But whether they be transported, and if they're going to be transported, what can be done, those are important things. Also, if there's any activities that we discourage, having a parent there is paramount for us to be able to take care of things right away, that maybe that child doesn't have to be removed from the facility.
Right.
Maybe they can just be sitting with the parent and still then enjoy what's going on. The parent can still enjoy and participate in what's going
We
on.
want our students there. It's a safe place. It's a great
Absolutely.
place, a positive thing,
But we want
to
the
be.
parents there too,
Yes,
not only
absolutely.
to be there for the reasons we've discussed, but it's more fans in the stands. It's
Support.
supporting your community.
Even when we travel to away games, I think all of these stay in place. As administrators, our job is to keep eyes on the students and our student athletes and families, and it goes no matter where we're at. We're going to provide safety for Broken Arrow students.
I'd like to thank you guys for joining us on Core Values. Be sure you're subscribing to the ArrowVision Podcast Network on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys for being here today, and we will see you next time.